With Friday's game hanging in the balance, it looked like Sione Matautia had given the Knights a chance to tie things up. The referee try, the bunker thought otherwise, and the Bulldogs went on to win. Back at training, the Knights weren't dwelling on the decision.
That obviously did play a part in the scoreboard, but there was definitely a lot of things in the game that we could have controlled better and we should have done better that could have put us in a better position to win.
That's the game, 50-50s, and we didn't get them, but that's not what lost us the game.
With just one win from 6 rounds, Newcastle is last on the ladder, but there's still confidence among the squad.
I do believe we've got an outfit here that can push for finals. So I guess if you weren't thinking about making finals, then you shouldn't be playing first grade.
Gagai was one of the Knights' best against Canterbury, but the result left him with little to celebrate. This weekend he's likely to match up against Rooster Latrell Mitchell, a player with a point to prove after being hooked late in the loss to the Broncos.
He's an outstanding young player and he's a big body, he's agile, fast, strong, so obviously going to be a good battle there.
At this time of year, there's plenty of speculation about rep teams. With Greg Inglis out injured, Gagai has been mentioned as his replacement for the Kangaroos.
The only way you put yourself in a position to be in those teams is by playing good for your club. So my focus is always with the Knights first, and anything that comes off the back of that's obviously a bonus.
It was a must-win match at the wrong end of the ladder, and this just about summed it up. An F3 derby with a difference, both sides battling to avoid the wooden spoon, but only the Mariners showed the necessary urgency.
We've gone from where we were in the six at one point to bottom of the table, which is clearly not good enough.
The Jets last scored a goal 4 rounds ago against Brisbane. In that time, they've conceded 17, just one shy of a very undesirable A-League record set by the now defunct New Zealand Knights. And Jets fans are fired up, describing recent performances as an embarrassment, disgraceful and terrible. Even the A-League's official broadcaster has made a joke of Newcastle's position. Today, a very candid club CEO conceded there's work to do.
It's as though somebody's just taking the confidence right out of the team in front of goals, and I know the comments they're saying the boys aren't trying, but they're out there trying, and it's just not happening.
Money is not the issue. According to Laurie McKenna, owner Martin Lee has opened his wallet.
So we'll be spending, probably for the first time in many years, I don't know about the past, over the salary cap. We'll be looking to get a marquee or put somebody in marquee status so we can spend more.
As for the future of coach Mark Jones...
Coach have been sacked for less, but at the moment, we've got one game to go. You don't start because there are fans out there saying that. We don't need to jump on board with that.
McKenna is offering some hope for fans with signings on the horizon.
See what happens over the next few months and give us a chance.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
During his time in Newcastle, Milicevic was a fan favourite. He says he never wanted to leave.
I love this place, and as soon as I landed the energy, I was like, oh, I've missed it, I love Newcastle and Merewether, and it's home for me, It's obviously family's in Melbourne, but Newey's definitely in my heart.
While catching up with former teammate Joe Wheelhouse, Lubo admitted the 2011 team never reached its full potential.
We just had a really good bunch of boys, and we were doing so well in the field as well. It's just unfortunate that I guess it had to be split up the way it was, because I definitely think that team was capable of going on and challenging for the title.
Milicevic went on to achieve his dream of playing in Croatia. These days he represents his junior club Dandenong. Promoting mental health has become a personal mission.
I realise I've got a platform and I'm able to give back by speaking about my experiences and sharing them, and hopefully by doing that others have the courage to reach out and not suffer in silence, because I did for 2 years.
The 36-year-old is also working on coaching qualifications and says he'd love to return to the Jets if an opportunity presented itself. He's keen to help Wheelhouse with junior clinics as well.
Now I'm looking at coaching and doing my badges, and any time I can help kids, or anyone really, I'd love to be involved.
A charred, burnt-out shell, which was once Josh Stewart's pride and joy.
It's kind of heartbreaking. It was such a nice car.
That was until it was taken from his home at Charlestown on Saturday night.
My housemate came home, walked in and said, front door's open, where's your car gone? I thought they were joking.
But police allege the 2014 Ford Focus was stolen by 25-year-old Alexander Lee, who then targeted the Metro service station at Taro in the early hours of Monday morning, allegedly stealing cash and cigarettes. He's accused of fleeing in the stolen car and dumping it 30 kilometres away at Malabula. It's alleged he then stole another vehicle from a house at Tanilba Bay, cash from a Nelson Bay resort, followed by a third car nearby, and was next spotted more than 40 kilometres away. This is where the alleged crime spree came to an end. Lee was arrested here on Cormorant Road at Kooragang Island at around 6 o'clock last night and was later charged with 12 offences. Lee faced Raymond Terrace Local Court today, where he was refused bail. The matter is due to be heard again later this month. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Lake Macquarie Council is splashing out on Belmont Baths. A $750,000 jetty and rigid shark barrier are set to be installed to replace the old storm-damaged structure. The Belmont and District Residents Action Group says it'll be keeping a close eye on the project after lobbying for 8 years.
Just making sure that our councillors know we are needing communication. We need communication. We need to be told where they're up to. We want to know that these baths aren't just dilly-dallying along. We want them to get on with it.
Last night's meeting marked a formal turnaround for the long fight to restore the baths.
As the Mayor, I was keen to change the position of Council to reinstate the Belmont Baths.
They'll not only be new but improved with an accessibility ramp and eco-barriers. And it's hoped the netting will help bring the people in as well as keeping sharks out.
People don't swim in the lake here anymore. We fear the sharks. We believe the sharks are in there, and we're going to be grateful to have some barriers to keep the sharks away so we can enjoy to swim in our lovely clean lake.
The timing couldn't be better for Belmont, with the bar's redevelopment to coincide with the upgrade of the adjacent toilet block, providing new showers and change rooms for swimmers. The plans will be officially endorsed by the council at the end of the month. Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
It's no secret residential property in Newcastle is booming. Now we're seeing a big jump in sales of a different kind, industrial units.
The guys that operate small warehouses have cottoned on to the fact that they can use their self-managed super funds to buy their own premises, and that's creating a demand.
That and reduced supply of new industrial spaces.
Because the banks aren't attuned to lending for commercial or industrial developments at the moment. They're quite happy to lend for residential, but when people go to them with an industrial project, they're not as readily coming up with the funds.
Rain and Horn says owner-occupied industrial spaces are up a massive 15%.
Well, in about August last year, we were looking at some of these industrial units going for around about $1,100 a square metre. By February, they're now looking at $1,300 to $1,500 a square metre, depending on the quality.
And according to agents, the buyers aren't all local.
Got investors coming out of the woodwork out of Sydney. Anything up to around the $5 million mark is just ticking over, and we can't get enough of those properties to sell at the moment.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
The Knights didn't receive many favours from officials against the Bulldogs, but the coach says it's all part of learning to win.
It's the reality of being where we are and what we've been through as a club, and you generally get more of the rub of the green when you're winning more games.
Nathan Brown admits the experience of Rory Kos-Jason would have helped in the tight games. Unfortunately, he's still recovering from throat surgery.
He's back in doing some training. He's still having a few complications, and we're not really that sure yet, so maybe over the next few weeks might let us know a little bit more.
With very few veterans in the squad, young players such as Brock Lamb will continue to learn from experience after making some costly mistakes against the Dogs.
The best way to get practice is to keep doing it and keep finding himself in the situations, and he's only one of many number of younger guys who we hope to consistently improve.
Lamb could lose his first grade spot to Shark Jack Bird if he accepts Newcastle's offer. Brown isn't surprised the Broncos have entered the race for the Star's signature.
What unfolds there will unfold. We can't do any more as a club, and we've put a fair bit of time into it, and we've made Jack a very good offer for where we're at as a club.
They're some of the most promising young footballers from across northern New South Wales. This is a youth identification camp at Lake Macquarie's state-of-the-art $11.5 million football centre.
The game has never been stronger in northern New South Wales.
But coinciding with the Newcastle Jets slide to the bottom of the A-League ladder, claims the club and federation aren't doing enough at the grassroots. One commentator describing football in northern New South Wales as rotten, with a bare cupboard of talent, saying many promising North Coast players are heading to Queensland.
But if they live an hour away from the Brisbane Roar and they can stay at home and it's easy for them to get involved in that structure, why wouldn't we encourage it instead of them being lost to the game?
More than half of the 64,000 registered players across northern New South Wales live in the Hunter. CEO David Eland says, of course, that's where resources are concentrated.
We provide as many opportunities as possible for the very best players from regional northern New South Wales to come down here, to have access to the facility and also to integrate with the emerging Jets so they can constantly benchmark their development. That's our strategy.
With technical directors and talent scouts on the coast and an Australia First home stay program bringing the most talented kids to Newcastle, the Federation believes the future is bright.
In 2016 alone, we had 3 boys at the Centre of Excellence. We had 3 boys represent the national under-17s. We had 7 girls picked for the young Matildas. We had 5 girls picked for the junior Matildas.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
This is the $19 million proposal, an 8-storey residential building featuring 56 apartments on a site along Church Street at Nelson Bay. The development isn't what concerns some residents, it's the height.
This is a very unique, special place, and we don't want it spoilt by excessive height.
Due to the slope of the block, the proposed height varies between 29 metres and 32. Either way, it's near double the current limit of 15.
We can understand that it is an extension of height, and that does concern people. But to have over 200 community members writing to the council and saying, we support this proposal, that's unheard of.
Council staff found the increase to be appropriate and have recommended the project for approval.
There's scope within the current planning controls to consider variations to heights, and some of those things include the design merits and things like that, but also public benefit as well. Is this a good thing for the community and for the area?
The DA initially got the green light at last night's council meeting, but a rescission motion was put forward to defer the decision. The Tomaree Ratepayers and Residents Association believes any decision is premature, given consultation is underway to revise the Nelson Bay strategy, which includes building heights.
There should be a pause to hear the views of the community before a decision is made.
The rescission motion will be debated at the next council meeting. Renee Feder, NBN News.
The man appeared in Newcastle Local Court via video link from Cessnock Correctional Centre He's been in custody since being charged with murdering his 12-year-old stepdaughter almost 2 years ago. Today, he was committed to stand trial in the Supreme Court on one charge of murder and one of reckless grievous bodily harm. The court heard the brief of evidence against the accused spans 5 volumes. The man is accused to have assaulted the 12-year-old on the evening of September 22, 2015 at the family home. Police arrested the 46-year-old the next morning in the nearby suburb of Rutherford after the girl's body was found in her bed by her mother, who was also charged in relation to the death. The 34-year-old, who is on bail, appeared in Newcastle local court today on one count of manslaughter. Her matter was adjourned until next month. The 46-year-old man will next appear before Sydney Supreme Court in June, where he will formally enter pleas.
The whole idea here is to re-establish the actual structure of the dune by the sand using the wind and natural processes by trapping it, and then re-establishing that vegetation.
They've started here for about 3 kilometres on the northern end, up at Gangan, and once this works is completed, they'll be heading down onto the southern end of the park.
She might not know it, but Flossie here is about to undergo necessary surgery, something that wouldn't be possible without these 3 driven women. Olga Parks, Pam Hopkins and Pat Hinton love animals. 20 years ago, they set up Hunter Animal Watch to help pet owners who aren't as fortunate care for their 4-legged friends. Ever since, they've been volunteering in this shop in Hamilton, selling knickknacks, all to assist others in footing the bill when it comes to desexing pets.
We could see the huge numbers of animals that were being put down in our area and all across New South Wales, which is 60,000 a year. Healthy animals put down because there are no homes for them. We thought, well, you know, we can't do much, but we can do a bit.
Today, Flossie became the 30,000th animal to benefit from the initiative, which also relies on the generosity of veterinary clinics, willing to work with the charity at a discounted rate.
There are a lot of animals that need homes in the shelters, and we're still seeing numbers that are just uncontrollable. So, yeah, we think it's a great cause.
And with 2 decades under their belt, the women are showing no signs of slowing down.
You just do it all for the love of animals?
Absolutely. Nothing like dogs and cats.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Once I'm done playing football, I can reflect on that moment, but at this point in time, I've got to focus on what I can do to help this team get better and win some games.
I don't really banter before a game or out on the field. I'm more just trying to catch my breath, I think.
He was there for the Jets' first ever game. Since then, Haliti has produced plenty of memorable moments in 3 stints at the club, from a famous goal celebration to a winner against David Beckham's LA Galaxy. This Saturday, he's hoping to become the 7th player to notch up 100 games for Newcastle.
Yeah, it's a special feeling. I got to get there first, but it's been a long road and it means a lot to me, yeah.
Haliti suffered a torn ACL in October 2015. Since then, his opportunities have been limited.
I don't know, it's part of football. When you get called up, you need to do a job, and I think I've done that throughout my career. So, to me, I'm a professional player, so whenever I'm get called up, I need to do a job for the team.
Whether he'll get to do that job for the Jets next season remains to be seen. Haliti is one of a host of players coming off contract. The 31-year-old is reportedly keen to play on or take a coaching role with the club, but for now he's focused on the Sky Blues.
The most important thing is this Saturday, the game, and then I'll deal with my personal issues after the season's finished.
In a boost for Newcastle, Wayne Brown returns from suspension and is expected to start this weekend.
Two guys that have a lot of experience in captaincy, so us three work really close together in terms of making sure how we go about our plans and our strategies with the bat and the ball. So I'm really lucky that I've got those other 2 guys by my side.
Since the early hours of this morning, it's been slow going for holidaymakers between the M1 and Pacific Highway. While at Raymond Terrace, traffic wasn't the only thing motorists had to contend with. Hunter roads are bustling with people heading away for Easter, and police are ready. They've called in extra resources from Sydney to make sure safety comes first. Last Easter, the state's holiday road toll stood at 2.
Every death is one too many.
If you're travelling to an unfamiliar location, New South Wales Ambulance is encouraging you to download the free Emergency Plus app. It displays the GPS coordinates of your location on the screen of your phone. So if you find yourself in trouble, you can easily tell emergency services where you are. While police have issued a heartfelt plea to those taking to the roads.
We have to attend these tragic incidents, and it remains in the minds of those personnel for many, many years.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
And reporter Amanda Bennett joins us live now from the end of the M1 at Beresfield, where holiday makers are heading north. Amanda, what's the latest?
Well, Tash, as you can see behind me, northbound traffic has now eased, but that's very different to how it was just a few hours ago when the queues here backed up 4 kilometres. Here hasn't been the only pinch point today either, with heavy traffic also along the Pacific Highway at Heatherbrae and further north at Maxville on the mid-north coast. And if you have delayed your holiday travels until tomorrow, the message from emergency services is clear: slow down, take regular rest breaks and stick to the conditions. Back to you.
Good advice. Amanda Bennett reporting there.
The second stage of the levy in Maitland, in particular the Riverlink building, to create that connection from High Street through to the river. A new community centre for Gilliston Heights, and we'll also be having a few projects come to completion, for example the 25 metre heated pool as part of our aquatic centre.
At just 4 years old, little Ella Hammond's spirit shines brighter than most.
She touches everybody in amazing ways because she's just the happiest little girl. She doesn't see herself as being any different to anyone else. She amazes me every day. She gives me the strength to keep going.
Born with neonatal Marfan syndrome, a connective tissue disorder, Ella and her family have travelled a long, challenging road. The condition affects everything from her heart, lungs and sight to her ability to walk.
Doctors kept telling me she won't make it past 2. And when we got to 2, it was like, well, you know what, we're going to stop talking about her mortality and we're just going to let her determine her own fate in life.
She's more than mastered her wheelchair, but with it weighing 90 kilograms, it's hard for the family to leave the house. But that could soon change, with next month's Run with a Story charity event aiming to raise money for a much lighter version.
We're looking for as many runners as humanly possible. You can walk. We're looking for volunteers as well, so volunteers to man the drink stations, etc.
The run will take place along the Fernley track at Belmont. For more information, visit this website. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
We're finalising the arrangements, but what we know is that we'll have money car hire experiences, access to the pit lane, there'll be events and certain things that we can bring to our community and corporate partners that will help us to raise funds for the service and the 2 surf clubs.
One last run before the season's final game, wondering what might have been.
The fall the way we have in the last 5, I can't explain it.
That fall from finals contenders to the bottom of the ladder has raised plenty of questions from fans over the tenure of Mark Jones.
I can justify my position and rationalise why I think I shouldn't lose my job, and because, but that isn't my job to do that. You obviously want to keep your job, and I'm not stupid. You know that the way the season's finished off is not good, but there's not much more I can do. You do the best you can, and I honestly think I do the best I can for each game, and that's it. And a little bit from what happens on the field is a little bit out of my hands.
The wooden spoon can be avoided. A win against Premier Sydney FC could even see the Jets finish as high as 8th. It could be the last game at the club for a host of players who haven't been offered new deals. Jones hopes that isn't what's behind the team's slide.
They're showcasing themselves for maybe a position here, but also another club, and you expect them to do the best you can. And that may be a reason, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
They lost 38-0 when they met last season, but this year the Knights forwards say they won't be bullied.
I suppose it probably might have worked last year, but no, I'm 20 games in now and I feel like I can get my rhythm.
Daniel Saifidi remembers the only 2016 clash with the Roosters as an eye-opener to the rigours of the NRL. Now he knows what to expect.
Not just myself, but the team. We've come such a far way, and I think that helps me as well, knowing that our team's come a long way. That's going to help my confidence as a player.
We're still a young pack, but we've improved leaps and bounds from last year, and I'm really enjoyed playing behind them at the moment. So big test for them again. I'm sure they can get it over them this week.
Trent Hodkinson has a tough matchup on his hands. Mitchell Pearce and new recruit Luke Keary have been key to the Tricolours' solid start to 2017.
They've been going really well, and for us to capitalise on their form, we need to control it right in the middle and put some pressure on them from the inside.
A last-minute rush for seafood, topping off a busy week for the Newcastle Fishermen's Co-op, with around 5 tonnes of prawns and fish walking out the door yesterday alone. But the lead up to Easter hasn't been an easy one for fishermen, with ex-tropical cyclone Debbie impacting some supply.
We have run out of snapper and we really didn't want to do that, but unfortunately the fishermen over in New Zealand couldn't really supply us this year because of cyclone.
Despite the challenges, there was still plenty on offer for a Good Friday feast.
Oysters, prawns and Waddingfield's.
Salmon patties and garlic prawns and a marinara.
Got lots of nice goodies to have a lovely day with the family.
And it seems the outdoors was the place to be for many families in Newcastle today, making the most of the autumn sunshine.
It's beautiful out here. Doesn't get much better than this.
How good is it? Perfect day for riding.
Just taking the dog for a stroll and enjoying the sunshine while it's out.
But the true meaning of Good Friday was not lost, with church services held across the Hunter, a traditional service at Christchurch Cathedral, a time for reflection. Renee Feder, NBN News.
Repentance is taking a good hard look at what we're on about as Christians. It's about real sorrow for the harm we cause, and it is absolutely about being determined to change.
Boats, boards and balloons, helping plenty of people settle into Easter. Destination Port Stephens is welcoming them all, the sunshine included.
You can't ask for much better. This is Port Stephens at its best, and we hope to see that continue over the whole weekend.
For many local businesses who rely on the weather, Easter brings a much needed financial boost before winter.
Out of the whole year, it'd probably be around about the 15%, just in the weekend alone.
Some noticing a significant rise in demand.
An increase in visitors. Year by year, dramatic changes there. There's been more businesses that have set up over the years too. Some have come, some go, but overall I think there's more activities in town.
One of those, the Sale Port Stephens Race Week, strategically moved outside the school holiday period this year.
For our tourism operators, our accommodation properties, they've actually received an extra week of visitation, and business has been just absolutely booming.
According to Destination Port Stephens, accommodation is booked out right across the region this weekend. About 80% of visitors have come from Sydney, the Central Coast or the Greater Hunter. And why would you need to venture any further when you've got this right down the road?
Oh, I love the beaches up here and the cafes and the restaurants, and it's nice and close to home.
Beautiful spot, God's country we call it, so it's nice.
Georgia Marr, NBN News.
Monitoring the beach area and providing that safety net for surfers and beach users to get an idea of what is actually in that area, if there is a potential shark.
Another training session chasing the black line. Adam Beisler knows better than most there's too much of this happening across the country and not enough racing.
I sort of looked at what they were doing over in the college system, over in the States. They just really have that many more opportunities over there, and the pathways is a lot bigger.
The result is Swim League, a 5-team, 10-week head-to-head style league kicking off next month. Races aren't timed, instead the overall result is points-based. The workload has to be shared around the team, there's a big emphasis on the relays, and it's all over in an hour.
Taking it from the very traditional old school way of these long meets and making it a much faster, funner format.
It's hoped by increasing the amount of racing, more athletes will stay in the sport and in the region, rather than being forced to move away to be competitive. The first season will see teams from the Hunter and Central Coast go head-to-head, and plans are already well underway for a state-based league, featuring additional regional teams and those in Sydney.
In the metro areas, there's a massive call out for a lot more competition because they sort of put cut-offs on entry lists, which makes it very hard for the young ones coming through, and that's what we don't want to deter our kids from the sport that we love so much.
Just learning. I think each stage I just got better at, and even with rehab, I was just trying to do everything I could. And I finally got some good news the other day with my scans, so just got to keep moving forward.
Not trying to go out there and win races is the sole objective. We've got to be realistic and get used to the aircraft and learn to fly it well, learn to maintain it well. So if we just continue to do that for the next few races, but gather points and move ourselves towards the middle of the pack, then the second half of the year, hopefully we can then really start laying down some wins in a row and push through again.
We hope to have it all done by the end of 2018, so it won't be too long, and Muswellbrook will be able to have wonderful facilities for Stage 2.
Often racing, Gresford style. The annual Billy Cart Derby, a spectacle with a need for speed. The usually sleepy town's main street transformed into a high-energy racetrack, complete with plenty of action and a cheering crowd. Drivers in their element, soaking up the atmosphere on the way to the finish line. Competitors travelled from all over to put their weird and wacky carts to the test in a tradition that's lasted more than 15 years. A display of the finest handmade creations, from rusty wheelbarrows to speeding rockets and tractors.
Oh, it was great. It was so much fun, yeah. A bit out of control, but lots of fun.
With bragging rights on the line, some racers had a clear plan of attack.
Hard and fast. All the way. Hard and fast.
While others, not so much.
Stick to the steep bits. Hope for the best.
And it wasn't just thrill seekers having a go. The local state and federal MPs swapped their political seats for a cart. Even the Easter Bunny got in the action. All in all, a fun day full of smiles, with a record crowd of 5,000 people cheering from the sidelines.
Especially after we had all that rain, we were very concerned that we're going to be caught up in that. But we've got the biggest crowd this year that we've ever had, so we're just over the moon.
Renee Feder, NBN News.
You've got 12 houses that sold in 2016 in Bar Beach and only 10 in 2015. So there's an incredible pent-up demand.
Brenton and Lisa Bice know the IVF process well. It took 5 years and 2 attempts for the couple to conceive baby Evelyn.
That phone call we received that, we're actually pregnant was just unbelievable.
Lisa says one of the toughest parts of the entire process, the waiting.
Having those 5 days where you're just wondering is really hard. They often get a lot of eggs, but whether any of those eggs have taken and how it's all happening and whether we get to go on to that next step.
That's where this world-first app comes into play. Grow gives hopeful parents a window into the early stages of their embryo's development, something which until now was confined to the lab.
Basically what it'll do, it'll allow the patients to see day by day their embryos developing from that first day to the 5th day, which is generally a time when they feel quite disconnected from the whole process.
The smartphone app works alongside a special incubator known as Jerry.
There's actually a camera within the incubator that takes those photos so that we can actually then look back at it.
Prospective parents can then log on and watch a time-lapse video of their embryo's growth.
Which is nice for them to be able to look at their own embryos, share it with family and friends if they want to, but it'll also help if there seems to be poorer embryo development in allowing them to understand a bit better what's going on when we have those discussions with patients.
Grow is currently being trialled in Sydney. It's expected to be made available to all new patients in around a month. Amanda Bennett, NBN News.
Their performance once again drew plenty of praise, but for the Knights it doesn't ease the pain of posting a 5th straight loss.
Trent Robertson's saying how much we've improved, and other coaches are actually really acknowledging these blokes and really hang in there and get back in contest now. That's great, but we do want to win. That's our level. We want to get some wins on the board to see the reward.
The result could have been so different. After trailing early, they fought back. And very nearly levelled the score. In the end, it was the Roosters' star halves who put the result beyond doubt.
I think I had six repeat sets. We had none, and that weight of possession probably told a little bit on us at times. And as I said, their halves capitalised on it quite well.
But the headaches don't end there. In a week, Newcastle missed out on signing Jack Bird.
You just got to dust yourself off and come back into the market and look at the next one.
And Jamie Bureau fractured his foot. Last night, there were more worrying casualty signs.
Certainly got a couple of blokes we'd say be in a little bit of doubt for next week.
While Rory Kostchason's recovery from a freak training throat injury is under increasing uncertainty.
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. We're not sure if he'll come back in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, or if he'll come back. We don't know at this stage, but it's not positive at the moment anyway, to be honest with you.
One positive, the 21,000 fans who were at the stadium.
Obviously we're trying our best out there to repay him, but we've just got to continue and to work hard.
Did you think he was going maybe too quick?
I didn't really, because he gets in that mode in his work and he can keep sort of trucking on. You know, I knew he'd keep going.